Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
As the Eagles' loss to the Cincinnati Bengals was kind of the last nail in the coffin, obviously we had a pretty meaningless game against the Washington Redskins, and I guess you could say the rest of the season is pretty meaningless as far as playoffs are concerned. Alright, that ship has sailed. So now we're kind of in this mode where, after the Eagles lose to the Redskins this past week, we're kind of looking into the whole theory of trust the process, as Doug Peterson said during the offseason with the Philadelphia. Do we trust the process that is led by Doug Peterson and general manager Howie Roseman and owner Jeffrey Lurie? Meanwhile, you take a look at the Philadelphia Flyers. Just goes to show you we got to trust that process right now, as they are looking at perhaps a 10th straight win if they can beat the Colorado Avalanche tonight.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
Yes, we are actually in the midst right now of that Philadelphia Flyers and Colorado Avalanche game. As the score right now, 1-0. Flyers are up right now as we get down to the latter portion of the second period. Michael Del Zotto with the opening goal, and the assist, Claude Giroux and Jake Voracek, none other than those guys on the assist. So it's looking interesting. Could certainly say that for sure. As Flyers, again, they just continue their 9 in a row. That hasn't been done by the Flyers since 1995. You know, you're looking back at the Eric Lindros days there, and John LeClair and those guys. But anyhow, we continue to, well, I don't know. We've reached a different era, obviously, in the Philadelphia Eagles season, as last week, basically the end of any playoff hopes when the Cincinnati Bengals caught the Eagles very unprepared and just, I guess you could say, just no urgency, which has been an issue seemingly a lot this season with the Philadelphia Eagles in recent games. And I guess you can say, against the Redskins, they fought hard, I guess. They played hard, but ultimately, it's unfortunate to say and see, but this Philadelphia Eagles team, they're at the bottom of this division right now. And the whole theme of trust the process really, I'm looking on, there's, I guess what you would call ugly Christmas sweaters that I see, kind of being ads on web pages I go to, reading stories with the Philadelphia Eagles and whatnot. Yeah, there are sweaters out there and T-shirts now you can get, with trust the process on them. A phrase that was coined by Doug Peterson in the offseason, and in one of his many press conferences, and that's become, especially on sports radio, that's become a very, pertinent phrase as of late. And do we trust the process? Because you look around the NFC East. All right? And look what Dallas was able to do this year. It's not like they changed a whole lot, but they've drafted well. And by default, Dak Prescott kind of came into his own, as Tony Romo continues to not be able to stay healthy. And Ezekiel Elliott, the beast that he is as a rookie running back. And defensively, they've made some improvements. You look at the Giants, and what Ben McAdoo has done. Now, having been the offensive coordinator, there was a sense of stability there. But they took the off season and they reconfigured their defense. And look what they've been able to do. They're at 9-4. And for the first time in, a few seasons, the Giants are looking like perhaps a contender in the NFC. And then you look at the Redskins, and, of course, last year, winners of a weak division. But even still, they've swept the Eagles. They've owned the Eagles in the last 5 games over the last couple of years. All right? And it's really not encouraging. Especially, the Eagles are 0-4 in the division this year. Now, they're going to play the Giants again, at this point. Playoff hopes are all but gone. They've been all but gone after the loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. Inexcusable loss, I might add. So, yeah, again, these are meaningless games, but nevertheless, this Eagles team, they're still going to fight, all right? That's how it's working from here on out.
We're from Philadelphia and we fight.
They're still going out to salvage whatever they can that's left this season, try to go out and win a football game. Something they haven't been they certainly haven't been very good at doing after that 3-0 start. So they tried to do that against the Washington Redskins, I guess we can say. And ultimately they came up short. The whole idea of trusting this quote-unquote trust the process thing. Obviously, you look at Doug Peterson and the many just coaching malpractice errors he's made this season that a ready coach in this league, a competent coach in this league, should not be making. And it goes beyond, stuttering in a press conference and kind of eating his words at times. And look, this was brought up by Sal Paolantonio. He basically said this Eagles coaching staff / GM core, they've put Carson Wentz, they've been doing him a disservice this season, and with the whole Sam Bradford thing and how 8 days before the start of the regular season, Carson Wentz was basically named the starter. And look, I'm glad with how that turned out. I continue to be. I was glad, and am glad, that Carson Wentz basically had his first real season as a starter this year, rather than waiting until next year. And won't be able to convince me otherwise. Even though people say, "Oh, he should be bubble wrapped for he should sit behind Sam Bradford and behold." Again, it's no, forget that. Carson Wentz, again, the ceiling is high for him, and I think that was evident the first few games of the season. However, when defenses caught up on tape and this and that, obviously began to see a little more coming back down to earth, if you will. And And suddenly, the limitations on this offense especially began to show. And defensively, whatever happened to the early days this season? I mean, what happened to that defense?
Yes, we're gonna pick yes, Jim. I love it, man.
I mean, what happened to the days where where Jim Schwartz was looking like a genius for the most part, where many of us here were like concerned, he's doing really well. He might get an offering for a head coaching position in the off season. Now, that doesn't look like that's happening at all.
No.
But again, going back, the whole situation here, where in this Redskins game, where Ryan Kerrigan, at the top of the league in sacks, and that last, that sack on Carson, the fumble. Unfortunately, like Doug Peterson would go on to say in the press conference, they were down to their fourth string right tackle or whatever at that point, which is kind of, silly to say. I mean, we got, but basically, making an excuse, we were down to our fourth string thing, kind of, throwing Tobin right out there under the bus.
Gosh, it went great.
And but when you know that Ryan Kerrigan, who is tearing your team apart, tearing the offense apart, and you don't have like Brent Selleck out there because Zach Ertz evidently can't block, of course. You don't have a tight end out there to give help. I mean, you just got to know. And unfortunately, despite having a pretty good game, Carson Wentz here gets buried, and that's pretty much the end of the game. And look, I know that this Eagles team at this point, the season is sort of lost, unfortunately. It was, especially after the Bengals loss. The loss to the Bengals. That's really, it's really unfortunate, though, that basic fundamental errors continue to be the focal point, it seems. And in some regards, it's like, it's like I see what Sal Palantonio's point was. And what he said on the Mike Missinelli show this past week. Basically, they're doing him a disservice at times, it seems. They're malpractice, where they don't try to set up play action, and with what they got, it's like they're not calling to, play calling wise. They're not doing like twin tight end formations, and I mean, they got nobody on the outside who can catch the football really and make plays, who can stretch the field, like Deshaun Jackson did this game and burn the Philadelphia Eagles on defense. No, you got Nelson Aguilar catching another 2 balls for only 22 yards this game. Whereas in the slot, once again, the targets continue to be Zach Ertz, who's a glorified slot receiver, along with Jordan. Zach Ertz, 10 receptions for 112 yards. Jordan Matthews caught 8 balls for 79 yards. Trey Burton get in there for 7 receptions for 65 yards. But besides that, there was nothing. Nelson Aguilar, supposed to be your number one outside receiver here. 2 balls for 22 yards. Paul Turner, after showing a promising week against the Bengals, only 1 reception for 16 yards. That's it. And then Darren Sproles, out of the backfield, 2 for 13. Salek was in there, 2 for 7 yards. That's it. And again, this offensive line, I know. Look, Jason Kelce has been very suspect this season. Jason Peters, I mean, I don't know. He's had a case of the jitters this year with false starts and whatnot. And then, of course, there's this unfortunate Brandon Brooks story. Who I guess, he's been having anxiety. And this goes back to his days with the Houston Texans, I guess last season. And I unfortunately, what happened was apparently the Brooks thought it was a stomach ulcer that he had, and everyone else thought it might be something else. Brandon Brooks announced, as of today, he has an anxiety issue. And apparently this is the reason why he's gotten sick on game days before not played. He missed 2 of the last 3 games with these last-minute hospitalizations. And again, this goes back to Houston, his days in Houston. So I don't. But yeah, Jeff McClain tweeted that. Apparently, that's the reason why. And I don't know what to think here. Some tweets here about the Les Bowen tweets. Brooks, too concerned about trying to be perfect. And Bowen also tweeted, Brooks said he took IV Sunday trying to play, but, quote, I couldn't stand up. Let's see, Les Bowen also said, Brooks says anti-anxiety meds should solve the problem, along with talking to someone. Previously thought problems were related to ulcer. Jeff McClain also then tweeted, Brandon Brooks said he will take medicine to chill me out. Said he doesn't feel depressed. Said he's felt anxiety for a long time. So I don't know what to make of it. And apparently, it's as if the Eagles don't know. Doug Peterson, ever the people person, basically called it a weird thing. And apparently they don't have too much else to say. I don't know. They say the medical team is looking into it. And you would have thought maybe in the offseason, with this being also you trace this back to his days in Houston, think they'd maybe know more about it at this point, but I don't know. Apparently not. Anyway, we're going to hit the first break here on the Tyler Werner Show. The break. Because we'll come back on the other side. We'll, talk about the other teams in the NFL, top 5 thoughts and how they're achieving in playoff territory, unlike the Philadelphia Eagles have been to close out the end of the season here. But meanwhile, what started out as a 1-0 game is suddenly a 2-2 game with the Flyers and the Colorado Avalanche as the second period is winding down quickly as I speak here. And let's see, the second goal for the Flyers was a Wayne Simmons goal. So, assist by Radko Gudas. And so, it's got a tight game here between the Flyers and the Avalanche. We'll see how, that's going to enter the intermission shortly. So we'll be back on the other side. We'll talk more right here on the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this.
The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show.
What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap? Guess it's all that pumping. Pump and dump.
Pump and dump. Never stop the pumping. Always keep her satisfied. Pump and dump.
You really jarred something loose, Tiger.
Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting, the word customer begins with C-U. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.
Tyler Werner Show right here. We are in the midst of a Flyers game that is tied 2-2 right now. Tonight we had Joel Embiid and Jahlil Okafor start side by side for the first time. The 76ers, it was a sloppy loss to Toronto. Joel Embiid only took 6 shots this game. It was his first single-digit scoring outing, as a matter of fact, with only 9 points. However, Jahlil Okafor out there in the he had a career high 5 assist game with 6 rebounds and 2 blocks. Okafor with 17 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks. And I guess it seemed like a lot of this game, Joel Embiid was kind of just playing off-ball decoy. Also, Joel Embiid, a little bit of a laundry list here, as far as, but Joel Embiid also rolled his ankle pregame, got a bloody nose on friendly fire, hit his knee, hurt his finger, and dove over the first row into the stands. Bit of a sloppy game for the 76ers and Joel Embiid. Meanwhile, Robert Covington notched a double-double with 26 points and 12 rebounds. Sergio Rodriguez scoring 16, and Gerald Henderson also scoring 16. DeMar DeRozan scored 31 points, as a matter of fact, and then the next game for the Sixers is going to be the Lakers on Friday night. So, a bit of a sloppy loss here tonight for the 76ers. But Joel Embiid and Jahlil Okafor, their first start, and what was a sloppy loss. Let's see. I believe, check on this Flyers score again. It looks like by this point should be end of the second period, 2-2, as the Flyers are tied with the Colorado Avalanche. Flyers looking to make it 10 wins in a row. That would just be unbelievable. And you know what? Since where we left off last week, the Flyers beating the Oilers 6-5, beating the Dallas Stars 4-2 on Saturday, and then of course on Sunday. This was, a 3-game in 4-day stretch here. The Flyers beat the Red Wings 1-0, shut them out. So, they had 8 games in 12 days, all wins. I mean, this is unbelievable. A couple weeks ago, I remember vividly saying here on the Tyler Werner Show, I think they won 2 games in a row. And in the season thus far, that has been a rarity. Up to that point, I don't know if the Flyers had won 2 games in a row. And they did it, and maybe they can put, hopefully they can put some more wins together, back to back. And 2 weeks later, they've put in 7 more in a row. And depending what happens here tonight against the Avalanche, they could extend this win streak to 10 games. That would just be unbelievable. Now, as we stand right now, in the Flyers division, the Metropolitan Division, they are 18-10-3 right now. They are pretty, gridlocked here in the Metropolitan Division right now, with the Penguins, the Rangers, the Blue Jackets, and the Capitals. They've played 31 games. Penguins have played 30. Rangers have played 31. Blue Jackets have only played 27. And the Capitals have played 28. Penguins have 43 points. Rangers have 41 points. Blue Jackets have 40 points. Capitals at 39 and Flyers at 39. So right there, you got 5 teams in the Metropolitan Division that are within 5 games of each other. Clearly this division in the Eastern Conference, the Metropolitan, is superior right now to the Atlantic Division, that's led by the Canadiens, 42 points. And then you got the Senators at 35 points, the Bruins at 35 points, the Lightning at 30. So you see where I'm getting at. There are basically, besides the Penguins, there are 4 other teams in the Metropolitan Division that have more points than the second highest team, the Senators, in the Atlantic Division. Clearly, you see a little bit of a superior division right now in the Metropolitan. Now, if the playoffs ended today, the Flyers would be in. They have 31 games played, 39 points. So they have a bit of an advantage right there over, say, the Capitals, who also have 39 points but have played 3 less games. And the Blue Jackets, who have 40 points, have played 4 less games than the Flyers. But they're right there with the Rangers right now. Only 2 below them, having played the same amount of games. 4 below the Penguins, who have been having a little win streak of their own. Not quite as big as the Flyers, but still, they've been pretty sharp as always. So, it's definitely something to be a little excited about right now. And if the Flyers can get another win tonight, that'd be something else. But they've come forward with this win streak. Biggest so far in the entire NHL this season at 9 games. See if they can make it 10 with a win tonight. Meanwhile, again, we continue to talk Eagles and the quote-unquote the process. Do you trust the process? Playoff hopes obviously have been gone after the loss to the Bengals. So we're really looking to the future. Is the future, I don't know, is the future bright? I mean, for one thing, we got the franchise quarterback, all right, who again, he's had little to work with this season. Hasn't had the most stable offensive line, especially since with Lane Johnson's absence. Okay, maybe we can point to the 3-0 start and consider that Lane Johnson being a part of that was important. And unfortunately, the suspension has been detrimental to the team. The offensive line has been unstable. They've had some good moments here and there, but I mean, really, you got this Brandon Brooks anxiety disorder function or whatever. You got going down to your 4th string right tackle, as Doug Peterson would say, and Jason Kelce this season has just not looked good at all. Jason Peters, you wonder how much he has left in the tank. I mean, it's definitely concerning. Again, well, at wide receiver, they're pretty woeful. Zach Ertz, he's been a good inside target, it seems, for Carson Wentz. He doesn't get yards after the catch, maybe like you'd like him to, like a Gronkowski or whatnot, but he's still been one of Carson's main targets, along with Jordan Matthews in recent weeks. But besides that, you got to do better. Ryan Matthews returns to action in this game as well. 15 carries for 60 yards, a moderate day. Sproles 5 for 27. I mean, you wonder how many seasons Sproles is going to play. But as far as running backs are concerned, we do have a rich draft coming up when it comes to running backs. Now, I don't know what the Eagles would plan on doing first round. The pick with the Minnesota Vikings. Again, you just kind of hope the Vikings continue to lose. I mean, they've been so this season. Obviously, they started off 5-0, But ever since the Eagles had something to say about that, they haven't been quite as good. So that helps the Eagles pick out somewhat. That was looking like it might be a pretty late pick in the first round. Maybe towards the middle, kind of like I was predicting. So obviously, where does the process go here? Well, wide receiver. Maybe free agency? I'm not sure in the draft. I mean, we'll wait and see. But it looks like running back is going to be pretty rich in the draft. There's going to be a lot of running backs that can come in and help a team. Maybe even in the second round. Some good, potentially a good running back or two that you can grab. Cornerback is a position of need for the Eagles. Again, the Eagles let go of Eric Rowe, and he flourishes over at New England in Bill Belichick.
I haven't been to the grocery store in a couple of years.
So, I mean, again, Patrick Chung, I mean, Dion Lewis, the guys they just seem to pluck from the Eagles roster, they get use out of, they get good play out of. So, I don't know what the Eagles do. I mean, but the rookies they have right now, they kind of aren't. They just aren't cutting it. And Nolan Carroll, he's been a little suspect here and a little banged up here and there as well. I mean, you got Leotis McKelvin, Roddy McLeod in the secondary. That's good to see. Malcolm Jenkins has been a staple in recent years. One of the few good signings that Chip Kelly actually made. And it was on the defensive side, Malcolm. One of the. But besides that, they have work to do. Connor Barwin Fletcher Cox finally coming alive a little bit against this Redskins game with a sack and a half. It's about time he gets to the quarterback. Brandon Graham, and again, Brandon Graham, he's looked pretty good this season. But I don't know. Besides it, this defense hasn't been as ferocious. They haven't been getting to the quarterback as much as they were supposed to be feared for doing. So, again, as we think ahead, where can this Eagles team, what will they do in the draft and this and that? That's kind of where we're at here. Free agency, again, maybe you'll look, I don't know, towards Alshon Jeffrey, or some have suggested Deshaun Jackson, that he's been openly lobbying to play somewhere other than the Redskins, and perhaps return to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, when Deshaun Jackson, which, he hasn't lost his speed yet. He showed that against the Philadelphia Eagles.
I agree.
But, it's one of the when his speed if he loses a step, he's kind of done. That's his calling, his speed. That's his calling card. It's one thing if you're No. Why can't I think of on Detroit? Why can I not think of his name right now? But you can be a good possession receiver over on Detroit. Man, this is really bad. I can't. Why can I not think of a guy? They're here and there. Guys who can play in their 30s, be good possession receivers, tough receivers. He was playing for the San Francisco 49ers a few years ago in the Super Bowl. Was in the Cardinals. Anquan Bolden. There it is. Why couldn't I think of that?
Hello.
Anquan Bolden. Not a burner at this stage or whatever, but still a good, decent receiver. Possession receiver. Deshaun, once he loses his speed, that's kind of all she wrote, really, for him. He may be close to washed up. I don't know. That doesn't mean he can't, come back here on the Philadelphia Eagles and be a burner. But I'm thinking a young veteran receiver. Alshon Jeffrey, that gives him a noticeable improvement in one wide receiver position, one spot, than what they have on the outside. Because quite frankly, they don't have anything on the outside to offer. Terrell Pryor is another name, although you wonder if Cleveland's going to try to franchise tag him or what, but take him over what they have. So, see what Paul Turner's got. I don't, again, he only caught one ball this week. I would think maybe they'd try to make him more of a focal point. But I guess that, remains to be seen. But for crying out loud, you got Zach Ertz and Trey Burton as, at tight end. And Jordan Matthews in the slot. That's where most of the receiving production is coming from, by a wide margin. All right, so we're going to hit another break here, actually. And then come back on the other side. As the Flyers game, is coming into the third period. As a matter of fact, it probably done with intermission, if I'm not mistaken. But, yep. Got 18:50 left in the third period. And we got a couple other things to talk about here in the Tyler Werner Show. Starting with top 5 thoughts around the NFL. So we'll take another break here, and we'll come back on the other side, and we'll discuss. And we will wait and see. The Flyers can maybe pull this out in regulation. Be right back right here on the Tyler Werner Show. Stay tuned for more on the other side.
Investigators are calling it the heist of the century. The grand robbery of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, committed by some apparently hungry NFL officials who love their balls.
I came in Monday morning. I was shocked to learn of the news reports about the balls and the process that happened between when they were prepared and went to the officials and went to the game.
As shocked as Belichick was of the news, perhaps Brady, the last man out of the kitchen on that Sunday night, was even more shocked to hear of the news of the theft.
I have a process that I go through. It was the same process that I always go through. When I felt them, they were perfect. I wouldn't want anyone touching those. I would zip those things up and lock them away, and that's what I thought I was doing.
as Brady and Belichick up the ante on their ball security. You'll just have to pick up a pack of their meatballs the next time you hit the grocery store and enjoy just how perfect these balls really are.
Tom's personal preferences on his ball security are something that he can talk about in much better detail than I could possibly provide.
Number one box office attraction, number one WWE superstar, multi-time WWE champion, Brock Lesnar.
Time to revamp your office space, eh? Looking for an interior decorator? Look no further than Brock Lesnar.
Now that's the way a real man uses a sledgehammer.
Out with the old, in with the new. Give Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman a call.
Mr. Lesnar, you're the future of interior decorator. I think we're done.
And we're back right here in the Tyler Werner Show. This December 14th, 15th edition. We're in the middle of Flyers game right now. Flyers are up 4-3 with only 3:30 left in the third period. Just a matter of minutes, they could pull it off and gather their 10th straight win. Roman Lyobodov with a goal, as well as Braden Shen, as the Flyers lead 4-3. The matter of can they hold the Avalanche off? We'll be documenting it right here in the Tyler Werner Show as things unfold here in the late going of this game. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's time, as we wind things down here on the Tyler Werner Show in the last segment, it's time to go around the NFL with top 5 thoughts around the league. And this will be Week 14 edition, as we are winding down the 2016 regular season in the NFL, with the playoff race in full force here. And we start with number 5. The Tennessee Titans defeating the Denver Broncos this past weekend, 13-10. Helps them stay alive in the hunt for the AFC South division, as well as the wild card race. But more realistically, the Titans are now tied with the Texans at 7-6 apiece. They could, Marcus Mariota, DeMarco Murray, these guys are putting together a pretty good season. And perhaps we could see the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs this year, unless the Houston Texans have something to say about it. The Indianapolis Colts, 6-7, have an outside chance of making the playoffs at this point. They need a lot of help. Number 4, the Green Bay Packers blow out the Seattle Seahawks 38-10. The Packers now get their 3rd straight win, and this helps them stay alive in the wild card race in the NFC division. Detroit Lions, they look like they have they almost have that division locked up right now. They're at 9-4. But the Packers are surging at 7-6 right now. They're sort of on the outside looking in, given that right now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-5 hold that 6th seed. But the Packers have done this before, where they've had a late season rally and have gotten in the playoffs kind of last week of the season by playing red hot. And certainly the Packers taking the Seahawks to school in Lambeau Field. Russell Wilson threw 5 interceptions and really just did not have a good game. As that that goofy soundbite just totally cut off the NFL theme music. So we restart. We restart the theme music here. So the Packers, all in all, looking pretty good right now. Can they continue their winning ways? We'll see. Number 3, none other than New England Patriots defeating the Baltimore Ravens by a score of 30-23 on Sunday Night Football. Or I'm sorry, this was Monday Night Football. We got Sunday Night Football, we got Thursday Night Football, we got Monday Night Football. The Patriots on Monday Night Football. Big win. And they now stand atop the AFC alone at 11-2 and are in the driver's seat as far as perhaps getting home field advantage goes. Let's see how they finish. See if they can pull that off in yet another season. Thought number 2 around the NFL. In Week 14, the Kansas City Chiefs defeating the Oakland Raiders 21-13, sweeping them for the season in the division. And the Chiefs now currently control the AFC West at 10-3. This was a big win. The Raiders are also now 10-3. But 2 of their 3 losses come to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs hold the tiebreaker for head-to-head games against the Oakland Raiders. And once again, now that bumps the Patriots up right now to sole possession of the AFC. But the Chiefs looking like a team that if they finish the way, they hope to finish here, then they could perhaps get the second seed in the first round bye in the AFC. That would be quite an accomplishment and step up for Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs looking like a contender for sure, especially on defense. As they hold the red hot Raiders offense to 13 points. That's pretty big. That's a big deal. And I'll tell you what else is a big deal. My number 1 thought around the NFL. Week 14 edition. The New York Giants, a giant deal for that matter. The New York Giants defeat the Dallas Cowboys in defensive showdown, 10-7, and ultimately ends Dallas's 11-game winning streak that they had going. I mean, I was sitting here week after week here on the Tyler Werner Show, and oftentimes it was the Cowboys' number 1 thought around the NFL. Cowboys win again. Cowboys win again. They won 7 straight. They won 8 straight. 9 straight. 10 straight. 11 straight. 12. Nope. Wait a minute. The Giants reign supreme this week. And again, are the only team to beat the Cowboys this season. Yes, that's right. Both Cowboy losses. Week 1 and Week 14 here. Both came against the New York Giants. Looks like the Giants may have their number right now this season. However, if these 2 teams happen to meet in the playoffs, we'll see how that turns out. Because it's normally, it's pretty historical that, and I believe you go through history and you'll find that it's very hard for a team to beat another team 3 times in a season. In other words, if somebody sweeps in the regular season, like the Giants here have swept the Cowboys in the division this year, both games, the Cowboys have an advantage. It's very rare that a team will sweep 2 games to nothing, and then also beat that team in the playoffs. Basically, 3 games to nothing in a season. And the same maybe could be said for the Raiders and the Chiefs if those teams meet in the playoffs. Who knows? Just a little food for thought there. But having said that, I think as far as teams in the NFC to make the playoffs right now, I flip a coin. Just given the fact that the Cowboys, I mean, yeah, they're very good. They're still like one win away from getting home field advantage in the playoffs, perhaps. In the NFC, unless I mean, I guess now the Giants, they're 9-4 and have 2 wins against that could speak otherwise, but that was, I mean, the Cowboys win that game. It's like they lock up home field advantage, and the last 3 games of the season are kind of meaningless. Now it's a different ball game. So, but as I was saying, I mean, between the Seahawks and how good they are at home usually, where they, how things may turn out in the playoffs with them, and they're a playoff experienced team. They got the Detroit Lions, who have been, ever since they started, what were they, 1-3? I mean, ever since then, they've been what, 8-1. The Giants have obviously been a contender this year, and you got Eli Manning, who whenever they make the playoffs, they're a possible Super Bowl contender. The Falcons, I mean, offensive firepower, at the top of the league, but again, you kind of question what they're capable of, and the Buccaneers as well. I don't know, but I mean, kind of flip a coin, go either way. And what if the Packers get in? Over in the AFC, the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are always the Patriots. I mean, let's face it. Here they are, 11-2 atop the AFC. Not surprised.
To me, those balls are perfect.
Of course, even after the Tom Brady suspension in the first 4 games, and the Patriots were still 3-1. So, I mean, you have them atop the AFC. Obviously, they're a favorite right now. Probably the top favorite, the favorite. And then you got the Chiefs in the mix, and the Raiders. And the Steelers are putting wins together. They're leading their division. And they come into the playoffs strong. I mean, they're a contender. Once upon a time, things weren't looking so good for them. I mean, I believe they were 4-4. They may have even been 4-5 at one point. Or maybe they were 3-4. I don't know. I know they were like 4-4 at one point, and looked like an uphill battle for them. But they get in the playoffs. They certainly have a chance. Broncos, Dolphins, I'm not so sure about as potential wild card teams. And, the winner of the AFC South, I mean, it seems like, I don't know. I mean, it's not a weak division, but it's certainly not strong. I mean, obviously the Jaguars are 2-11, but then you got the Titans and the Texans at 7-6, and the Colts at 6-7. About 3 mediocre teams. So where, there's only one bad team really in that division, but still, I mean, there's no real standout team that looks like they could really make some noise in the playoffs and have a chance of upsetting, say, the Patriots and getting to the Super Bowl. I think it's safe to say that. Oh, and also I think it's safe to say that the Philadelphia Flyers have just won their 10th straight game. That's right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Flyers finished the game off 4-3 against the Colorado Avalanche. Another win.
Oh my God!
And yes, this Flyers team is just, they are on fire. And again, the 10th straight win. Can you believe it? 10 straight for the Fly Guys. If I could use that name. Or nickname for the Philadelphia Flyers. That is the longest win streak in Philadelphia sports since the Phillies won 11 in a row in 2010. Of course, but the longest Flyers win streak since 95. 10-game win streak. Unbelievable. So the Flyers, they were at 39 points. That bumps them up to 41 points. Now they've played, again, a couple more than the Penguins, but they're right there with the Penguins and the Rangers. And so how about that? On this edition of the Tyler Werner Show on a high note, with that in mind. Predictions. Eagles lose to the Baltimore Ravens, who are desperate. They can't afford any other losses here on out. They got to finish strong. And the Eagles lose. We'll see what happens. See what kind of nuggets maybe we can get out of this game. As we just, I guess we just continue to be in evaluation mode. Do we trust the process? I don't know. I don't know if we can right now with the Eagles. I mean, we got Carson Wentz in his rookie season, but on a team that has a lot of work to do. And we could very well be in for a 5-11 Eagles finish here. As hard as that may have been to believe when they started 3-0, it's looking like it's heading that direction. So nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, we'll close down the Tyler Werner Show on that note. We'll be back right here next week, as always. Discuss more Eagles football, maybe some more Flyers wins while we're at it, whatever else in the Philadelphia sports world, as well as NFL playoff football. That will not include the Eagles, but nevertheless, as always, an interesting and talkable subject, as we're just a couple weeks away from finding out who will be in the NFL playoffs and where. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to you next time on the Tyler Werner Show.